Okay, so guess what? It works. The back button finally works. What is frustrating is that I assumed it was a touchable opacity button issue, and it apparently is not. It is exactly a touchable opacity and something else issue, and app.js. Also, I thought I had studied how to make button styles log in something else, but just copying the pattern for the A to Z buttons or buttons on other screens did not work. Why? To simplify, how can I understand how the problem here was fixed? Client medical records. Okay, and here's the back button. Will it work? It does. Client medical records. And here's the back button. Will it work? It does. So we fixed the problem with the help of Google Gemini. Not really supposed to do that, but how did it work? I totally get why this is frustrating. When you copy a button that works perfectly in one place, it is incredibly logical to assume it will work exactly the same way somewhere else. Here is the simplest way to understand why copying A to Z button pattern didn't work and how the app.js fix actually solved the problem. The two types of buttons. The confusion comes from the fact that your app actually has two completely different types of buttons, even though they are both building touchable opacity, both built using touchable opacity. Local buttons, your A to Z list, these buttons only care about what is happening inside the client screen. When you tap A, the button just needs to talk to the screen itself to change the list of names. It doesn't need to know anything about the rest of the app. Global buttons, your back button. This button has a much bigger job. It has to talk to the manager of your entire app, the stack navigator in app.js. It is asking the manager, where were we before this? Take me there. The web browser analogy. To understand what was broken in app.js, imagine a web browser on your computer. Web browser. Like, I guess, up here? Maybe? This is the Gemini browser? Um, if you open a brand new blank tab, and type in the website, in a website, the back arrow in your browser is grayed out. Back in your browser. Yahoo. I don't know. Back in my browser is grayed out. What does that mean? Back. I guess that means it got rid of this one. Type in back arrow in your browser is grayed out. You can click it 100 times, but it won't do anything. If you open a brand new blank tab, yep, can't use this because I didn't go anywhere. I guess so. I guess I understand it. You can click it 100 times, but it won't do anything. It is not broken. There's just simply no history to go back to because it is the first page you visited. This is exactly what was happening in your code. Because client was listed first in your app.js it was acting like that brand new browser tab. When you tapped your back button, the code was shouting, "Go back!" But the app's manager was saying, "Back to where? We just opened the app." How the fix worked. By adding initial route name login to your app.js, we gave the app a true starting line. The app now opens the login screen. I'll read that again. How the fix worked. By adding the initial route name login, quote, login, end quote, to your app.js, we gave the app a true starting line. The app now opens on the login screen. You navigate to the client screen. Because you traveled from one screen, the app now opens on the login screen. By adding the initial route name login to your app.js, we gave the app a true starting line. Okay, so I'm going to have to learn what the importance of initial route name equals. But why login is the next. I guess it's because it's logical. Login is where the website starts. By adding initial route name login to your app.js, we gave the app a true starting line. The app now opens on the login screen. You navigate to the client screen. Because you traveled from one screen to another, the app creates a history of that trip. Now, when you tap your customer back button, the code shouts, "Go back," and the app's manager says, "I remember we came from the login. Let's go there." Your button code was always right. You just needed a map. Now the app's navigation is mapped and correctly, and the screens can talk to each other. Do you want to tackle how to make these A to Z buttons actually filter the client records? Yes, but I have one more basic question. So, why login? Why login important? Why login page important? And so why login page important? And so why login page important? Why login page important? And what is initial route name? And route name. And why do I need it? And why do I need it? And why do I need it for a mobile page? This is a fantastic question. It is one thing to copy and paste a fix, but understanding why mobile apps require these specific rules will make building the rest of your app much easier. Here's the breakdown of exactly why mobile navigation works this way, what initial route name does, and why login pages fit into all of this. Why mobile apps need an initial route name. The biggest difference between a website and a mobile app is the URL bar. On a website, if a user wants to go to their profile, they can just type www.yourapp.com profile into the browser and instantly teleport there. The web browser handles all the map reading. Mobile apps don't have a URL bar. They're completely closed boxes. When a user taps your app icon on their phone screen, the phone's operating essentially just yell start at your code. Initial route name is your answer to that start command. Because there are no URLs to guide the user, initial route name is your answer to that start command. Because there are no URLs to guide the user, you have to explicitly tell the app's internal manager, the navigator, when the app opens, the specific screen is the absolute bottom of the foundation. Build everything else on top of this. When the app opens, this is the specific screen is the absolute bottom of the foundation. Initial route name is your answer to the start command. Because there are no URLs to guide the user, you have to explicitly tell the app's internal manager when the app opens, this specific screen is the absolute bottom of the foundation. Build everything else on top of this. The stack of cards concept. In your code, you are using something called Create Stack Navigator. The word stack is in your code, you are creating something called Create Stack Navigator. The word stack is very literal here. Imagine your app screens are a physical deck of cards. Setting, initial route name equals login. You place the login card face up on the table. This is your foundation. Navigating to client. The app deals a new card, the client screen, and places it directly on top of the login card. Hitting the back button. The app simply picks up the top card and throws it away, revealing the card underneath it. If you don't define an initial route name, React Navigation automatically assumes the very first screen in your list is the bottom card. In your original code, client was at the top of the list, so it becomes the bottom card. When you press back, the app couldn't throw the card away because there was nothing underneath it. Why the login page is the best starting point? While you could set your initial route name to home or payments, starting with login is a fundamental best practice for secure app design, especially for an app handling client medical records. Think of the login screen as the front door with a bouncer. If you set the starting point to home, a user opens the app and immediately sees the inside of the building. You would then have to write extra code to quickly hide everything and kick them out of the building for a while back to the login screen if they aren't authorized. By making the login the initial route name, the app fundamentally cannot load any secure data, client lists, or payment screens until the user successfully unlocks the very first door. In short, initial route name tells your app the front door is making that front door at the login screen ensures your app data always is secure. Okay, so what do I say now? Something else, Jonathan. What should you say? So compare and teach me old app.js and new corrected one, and how they both related to the other screens. Then, could you please tell me how to what? Practice this lesson. Give me some mock code. It's awesome that you want to understand mechanics behind this instead of just moving on. Getting a solid grip on how navigation works now will save you countless hours of debugging later. Here's a breakdown of your old setup versus the new one, how they talk to your screens, and a mock lesson to help you practice. The breakdown: old app JavaScript versus new app JavaScript. Think of your app as a physical building. Your screens, login.js, client.js, home.js, are the individual rooms. Think of your app as a physical building. Your screens, login.js, client.js, and home.js are the individual rooms. Your app.js is the building's blueprint and the hallway that connects them all. Really? Your screens, login.js, client.js, and home.js are the individual rooms. Your app.js is the building's blueprint and the hallway that connects them all. The old app.js, building the front door, in your old code, you handed the app a list of rooms, but you didn't tell it where the entrance was. Because client was the first room on your list, the app assumed that it was the front door. In your old code, you handed the app a list of rooms, but you didn't tell where the entrance was. Because the client was the first room on your list, the app assumed that was the front door. It spawned you inside the client room. When you pressed your back button, the app looked at the blueprint and said, "You can't go back. This is the entrance." The new app.js, okay, I think I get it. In your old code, you handed the app, I'll tell you where the entrance was. Because client was the first room on your list, the app assumed that that was the front door. It spawned you inside the client room. When you pressed your back button, the app looked at the blueprint and said, "You can't go back. This is the entrance." The new app.js, the directed blueprint, by adding the initial route name equals, quote, login, end quote, you explicitly drew a front door on the blueprint. Now the app knows everyone must start in the login room. From there, if you navigate to the client room, the app remembers walking down the hallway. When you press the back button, it simply walks backward down the same hallway to log in. How they relate to other screens. If a screen is not listed inside, the Stack Navigator, how they relate to other screens. If a screen is not listed inside the Stack Navigators, if a screen is not listed inside, it does not exist in the building. You could not have a beautifully coded settings.js file, but it is not you could have a beautifully coded settings.js file, but it is not inside the app.js. Your buttons will never be able to navigate it. App.js is the absolute source of truth for where a user is allowed to go. Your practice area, mock code lessons. Let's put this into practice. Since you are building things with React Native and Expo Go, let's pretend you are creating a brand new mini internal app specifically for the Lifehouse Board of Trustees to use. This app has exactly 3 screens. Board login, where they sign in. Number 2, dashboard, the main menu. Yehi, directory, a list of fellow trustees. Challenge say, architecting the blueprint. Right now, the app is crashing because there is no navigation setup. Your task is to write the app.js file from scratch. Use requirements. Use Stack Navigator. The app must start on a board login screen. All 3 screens, board login, dashboard, directory, must be included in the stack. You do not want the default navigation headers to show up. Hide the header. How to complete the challenge. Reply with what your app.js code should look like to make this work. Reply with what your app.js code should look like to make this work. Imagine you are inside the dashboard, all 3 screens. Well, okay. So board login followed by dashboard directory. All right. Imagine you are inside the dashboard.js file. You want to create a touchable opacity button that, when tapped, takes the user to the directory screen. How to complete this challenge? Reply with the code for a simple text button that successfully navigates. How to complete this challenge? Reply with code for a simple text button that successfully navigates the user to the directory. Okay, I'm gonna try to say, take a shot at challenge 1 and paste your code below. Challenge 1. Okay, I hope this works. Okay, I'm trying to do it. Board login, dashboard directory. Board login. Hope this works. Dashboard. Dashboard. Directory. Dashboard. Uh, Directory, I think. Okay, so you nailed, for the first challenge, you nailed the hard parts. The navigation structure, the initial route name, and the screen options to hide the headers all exactly right. The blueprint perfectly sets up the front door for the app. There's just one tiny, very common typo in your import statements that would cause this to crash. Darn it. Take a look at how you imported the screens versus how you called them in the stack. So what did I do? Import login, import style sheet text view from React Native. They say import style sheet text view from React Native. That part is the same. I said import login from screens board login. They say import screens, yeah, from login. Import sign up for screens dashboard, and they say import client, import navigation container, constant stack, export default function app, navigation container. So I don't know what I did wrong. What you nailed the hard parts, the navigation structure, and the screen. Take a look. There's just one tiny thing that would cause it to crash. Take a look at how you import the screens versus how you called them in the stack, whatever that means. Import login from screens board login. Stack screen name board login. Component board login. I honestly don't understand what I do wrong. Because you imported the file as the word login, React Native doesn't know what board login is when you try to pass it to the component prop. Okay. And component prop is probably just writing it in the first place. The name you assign in the import statement must match the exact variable name you use down below. Oh, whoops. You also had sign up and client left over from your previous code. Here is the perfectly clean final version. Import style sheet text view from React Native, import navigation container from React Native, as opposed to import style sheet text view from React Native, import text view from React Native, import navigation container from @reactnavigation.native. Did you do that, Jonathan? No, you forgot all of that. Import navigation from navigation.native. You had that. Ragged stack. Stack. The imported names now match the components' names exactly. Import board login from screens board login. As opposed to what you had, which was something like this. Import login dot screens board login. So login has to match board login. There's the big difference. Import board login from dot screens board login. It can't just be, you can't change, it has to be consistent. Import login from dot screens board login. Import dashboard from screens dashboard. I think that's pretty much the same. Import sign up from screens dashboard. This is a little bit problem. You had sign up here, but you had dashboard here, and client here from directory. That's not good, because these are leftovers from the previous code. So look at the correction version. Import dashboard from screens dashboard, directory from screens directory. And what you had was import sign up dashboard, because the sign up was from the previous code, and the same client for the directory. In constant stack, create stack navigator, export default function, return navigation container, initial route name. And these guys, you had a different version of this on the bottom. You had board login, screen name board login, screen dashboard directory. This is a highly solid, secure foundation for an internal directory app. Wow. Okay.